Welcome to another edition of World of Africa. I'm Eric Njoka. This week we highlight a menace that has ravaged the youth in West Africa. A drug that is derived from bones of the dead and called Kush has forced the Sierra Leonean government to declare a state of emergency. Will President Julius Maada Bio weather the storm and save his young population? We'll talk about that shortly. The show starts right now. Voters in eastern areas of South Sudan, which have been engulfed in violence in recent years due to the country's civil war, say they are excited about the chance to cast their ballots in elections slated for December. South Sudan's Election Commission says it will commence voter registration in June, but doubts remain about whether the polls will actually go ahead as planned. Here's a report from Juba.
Juba was all in red as South Sudan Liberation Movement supporters rallied at a stadium in South Sudan's capital to listen to their leader and president deliver his plan for the elections scheduled for December. The SPLM was endorsing its candidate for the much-anticipated polls. The elections, scheduled as part of a peace agreement that ended 5 years of civil war between rivals Salva Kiir and Riek Machar in 2018, have been postponed several times.
This endorsement is an honor, not only for me, but also for all the SPLM party members across this country. On behalf of the SPLM members, I have accepted this endorsement.
The National Elections Commission deployed officers across the country and also acquired some vehicles for mobility. Government released funds to the commission to kickstart the process. A draft calendar has been prepared. If approved by stakeholders, voter registration will begin in June.
But we as a commission, we are saying that targeting the election to take place should be in June. That's where registration of voters will begin. Why? The law says registration must begin 6 months before. Yes, we will begin now in June, then we moved ahead.
After attaining independence in 2011, South Sudan was initially scheduled to hold elections February 2023. However, the transitional government and opposition agreed to postpone them till late 2024. In early May this year, South Sudan's government launched a new round of peace talks with rebel groups in Nairobi, with Kenya mediating after early negotiations fell apart in 2022.
Peace agreements are not being implemented. What we need is a serious dialogue, a real soul search, so that we can really address the root causes and come out with a new social contract that will define what type of a state we want to have, that will define what type of a nation we are and how do we manage our affairs.
Listening to both the representative of the opposition and the representative of government and the language of brotherhood therein gives us hope that there is a chance for us to settle this once and for all.
Salva Kiir, the incumbent, is expected to face his now ex-vice president Riek Machar, General Thomas Swaka of the National Salvation Front, and General Paul Malong, a leader of the South Sudan United Front. New threats continue to emerge in the South Sudanese landscape, particularly as December 2024 draws closer. There have been major defections of influential generals from the Sudan People's Liberation Movement in opposition. They have expressed dissatisfaction with the progress of reforms and implementation of the current peace agreement. Africa's youngest nation needs to reassess its commitment to peace. It can do this by including all aggrieved parties in the political peace process. This will help the country return to normalcy under a government that's legitimately in power after credible polls. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
3 years of tropical storms, floods and drought have brought famine and displacement to parts of Africa. The extreme weather has also left another deadly threat in its wake. Severe outbreaks of cholera. In Southern and East Africa, more than 6,000 people have died, and there have been nearly 350,000 reported cases since a new series of cholera outbreaks began in late 2021. Here's a report.
Pools of green water stand stagnant in the streets of this impoverished town in Zambia. Some puddles extend right up to the walls of the basic concrete homes in the Najeli compound. Children step over them and play inches from the water. It's the same story in Lilanda, an impoverished township on the edge of the Zambian capital. Here, the Banda family have paid an awful price for the unsanitary living conditions. Cholera is easily treated and easily preventable, and the vaccines are relatively simple to produce. But they have not helped Banda's young son, Nadanji.
For the death of my other child, I blame myself. The reason I blame myself is because I didn't take action fast enough. I should have rushed him back to the hospital as soon as I realized that he was sick, instead of staying with him at home. So, staying at home for the whole day into the night is the reason why my child died.
Malawi and Zambia have experienced their worst outbreaks in recent months. While Zimbabwe has had multiple waves, Mozambique, Kenya, Ethiopia and Somalia are also badly affected. All of them have experienced floods or drought, in some cases both. Health authorities, scientists and aid agencies say the unprecedented surge of the waterborne bacterial infection in Africa is the newest example of how weather partly drives the disease outbreaks. Zimbabwe and Zambia have seen the cases rise as they wrestle with severe droughts and people rely on less safe water sources. Days after the deadly flooding in Kenya and other parts of East Africa this month, the cholera cases appeared.
I think these programs should continue, not because of the cholera pandemic, but it should be done like when we have any other disease that is an outbreak, we come on board, we sensitize in order to, reduce the numbers.
WHO calls cholera a disease of poverty as it thrives where there is a lack of clean water and poor sanitation. It mainly affects Africa and South Asia, while it is irrelevant in the developed world. Since the start of 2023, 15 countries, the desperate few, have requested for 82 million doses to deal with deadly outbreaks. Only 46 million doses were available. In what has become a perfect storm, there is also a global shortage of cholera vaccines that are needed only in poorer countries.
We got vaccinated, but we are still afraid of contracting cholera again because nothing has changed. We don't have safe, clean water, and sewage is still flowing everywhere. The situation remains the same.
Currently, while there are cholera epidemics in the Middle East, the Americas and Southeast Asia, Africa is by far the worst affected region. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
You're watching World of Africa on WION World is One. Time now for a short break. When we return, we tell you how an organization from Texas is campaigning to have rebels surrender in Congo's dense rainforest. Stay with us.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yowon.com.
Yoga, the age-old Indian practice of wellness.
Ayurveda, healing through diet, herbal remedies, and meditation.
2 timeless traditions.
2 priceless Indian gifts to the world.
From well-being to perfect health.
How can you incorporate yoga and Ayurveda in daily life? As the world gears up for International Yoga Day,
WION celebrates India's gift to mankind on this special series.
Welcome back to World of Africa on WION World is One. We are glad you're watching. Since early April in Northeast Democratic Republic of Congo, a Texas-based philanthropic organization, Bridgeway Foundation, has been urging rebels to surrender by dropping hundreds of thousands of flyers from a helicopter above their strongholds in the dense rainforests. Here's how and why they do it.
A team of men approach a helicopter parked at a military stadium in Uganda's Kasese. They're embarking on a journey to the dense forest in neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo, not for an expedition, but for something unique. Once the chopper is up in the air and passes through the Rwenzori mountain range in Beni, it hovers over the vast rainforest. Caleb Weiss sits on the edge of an open-doored helicopter. Tensions rise among the crew as the aircraft flies low over the impenetrable canopy within gunshot range of a fierce rebel group that has been conducting fatal attacks on villages in the area for a decade. For almost an hour, the tattooed American in a bulletproof vest scatters leaflets from the chopper, urging the ADF rebel group to surrender. Weiss works for the US-based Bridgeway Foundation that describes itself as the charitable arm of a Texan investment firm and says it focuses on preventing, ending and helping communities recover from violence. It first launched air operations in early April. The Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, that pledged allegiance to the Islamic State group in 2019 is blamed for attacks across the provinces of North Kivu and Ituri, near the DRC's border with Uganda. The United Nations says they have killed thousands of civilians, many in the most brutal fashion.
They tied us up and put loads on us. Sometimes they could also tie up to 7 hostages together, and we were forced to walk at the same pace carrying loads. And it was after a week that they united us, saying that we could no longer run away, but we continued to walk in the bush with them.
I was very affected when they killed hostages. We could sit quietly and they come to choose those who will be executed.
The helicopter flies over the Beni, Irumo and Lambasa areas where ADF fighters have set up camps. Many of the small, colourful leaflets via scatters over the tree tops show smiling photos said to be of former ADF members who have been de-radicalized and reintegrated into society. On the back is a map of the region showing meeting points for fighters wanting to leave and return home and the promise of government assistance. Each type of leaflet is different from the other.
We try to identify wherever ADF concentrations are, where there are ADF camps or ADF passages. And we use the planes to throw flyers that ask everyone to leave the bush.
The rebels, who number hundreds, operate in the DRC and to a lesser extent in Uganda, where most of the group's leaders originate. IS considers the ADF its Central African wing and has claimed responsibility for almost 100 attacks since the start of 2024 alone. That number is still below the figure given by the Congolese security forces and civilian groups. In April alone, they say over 100 people have been killed and dozens kidnapped. The Bridgeway Foundation is working alongside the Congolese and Ugandan military intelligence to track down Baluku and other ADF leaders. But tensions between the two African armies have complicated operations. Bureau Report, WION The World is One.
The Kora game has been played for 5 centuries, passed down from father to son in 2 tribes, Beni Mesra and Helali. Every spring, they come together once a week to play 7 games in the mountains. Here's how this ancient game is fostering unity and tradition in Algeria.
When the spring comes with its nice days, tribes of Beni Mesra and the Helali meet here. They used to play this game to reconcile and resolve their conflicts. Those who haven't met for 3 or 4 months meet here and play the Kora. It's an old game that we have played for over 5 or 6 centuries. We inherited it and pass it down from father to son since the 15 and 1600s. We bring our children to learn and inherit the game. The old men teach it to the younger ones who will teach it to the coming generation, and so we keep it going.
This game is hard. Look at my finger. This guy has hit me.
Thank you very much for watching this week's edition of Wild of Africa on WION The World is One. Get in touch with us on all our social media platforms and tell us what you think about the show there. I'm Eric Njoka, and until next time, it's goodbye from me.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.